like I said, a lot of the time I'm not looking for something having a gene on. I'm just looking for a new combination of genes that have a new flavor, and there's no way for me to know ahead of time to look for those genes to be turned on or turned off, because I don't even have a plant to tell you that this is what we're trying to replicate. I'm trying to find something that's new that we don't have a plant that to reference to find.
You wouldn't even know what you're testing for.
Right, exactly. It's not until you find a plant that has a really unique smell or flavor, then you can identify what genes are responsible for that unique smell or flavor or potency. Then you can start doing genomic breeding. So you still have to start the process kind of with a traditional route, unless you were gifted, given, or just got lucky finding something with a set of traits you can identify and breed towards. And that's really the whole goal of archiving unique varieties, is you now have a base plant to reference for your breeding work. Whatever, if that plant has traits that you want, you now have a plant to reference to try to use for that purpose, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, like you're just doing breeding and smoking it and determining how good it is, or if you're actually using a lab to look at the genes and identify genes that you're trying to essentially go through a larger population and eliminate unnecessary plants before you even grow them.
Do you look forward to a time in the future where like the science side of it kind of takes over a little bit with like the gene testing and some of the other stuff, where it might be like a theorized AI effect where like it's a build, and then it gets to this certain point where just like all of a sudden exponential, progress is made in a very short period of time? Because like you said, it's kind of
there's people doing it.
Breeding's kind of like you said earlier, the analogy of looking through the keyhole and trying to see what's behind it. There's kind of only one way to find out. You got to do the work. But it does seem like with some of this testing and technology and shit, it might provide some shortcuts.
It could, for sure. And I think there's people that are working on that. I think it's particularly useful for finding chemotypes, meaning like a CBD, CBG, THCV. Identifying the gene that is turned on for those cannabinoids, and then being able to do the genomic breeding and get rid of all the junk and only grow plants that have that gene on. I think that's a lot easier to do, because you're just looking for a novel cannabinoid to isolate. Whereas like trying to find something that smokes good is not just like one gene,
I guess I could see a use for like people who have, if you did do selective breeding for those chemotypes, and you have people who have specific ailments where like
there's people breeding for that already.
CBDG like works great
and
for
successful.
Nerve pain or whatever it is. I think that's where you might see the most like scientific leaps as far as like ways that people could benefit.
100%, and they're already doing that. A lot of the CBD companies, they have pretty sophisticated genomic breeding like set up, and there's other big companies that are getting into it too. But like I said, like trying to, if it's a plant that's available in the marketplace, I guess the point I'm trying to make is to make it financially viable, putting in all that work. You want to have it for a product that is unique. You don't want to
somewhat proprietary.
Yeah, you don't want to do it for like Blue Dream, like making the very, very best Blue Dream may or may not have a good financial return. Like maybe it does, because Blue Dream's still like a popular strain to sell, but it's such a low profit margin product that even if you do like genomic breeding to create like the ultra Blue Dream that's better than any Blue Dreams in history, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to find like producers that want to come pay you a lot of money to grow your ultra Blue Dream, or not even a lot of money, just enough to make the business of doing that work. I think in the short term, there have been companies that have made money selling genetics like that, but it's becoming limited because most of the companies that would pay that kind of money for that stuff were like MSOs. You know, they pay for like a 1-to-1 CBD THC or whatever it is, right? But they're not. I don't see how they're like. All of those companies are exiting competitive markets, like California and stuff. So obviously, like paying for whatever those novel products didn't save their business. No. That didn't resonate with the consumer, regardless of how kind of cool maybe what they potentially did or created or product they created or product they bred. It still didn't resonate with the consumer on at least the flower basis.
Well, we could have told them that.
Whereas there's people that didn't spend any of the money that they did, just breeding a little bit in their whatever setup they got and creating the biggest strains in the market. And those do resonate with consumers. And so why is that? And it's not really something that's determined by a couple genes that are turned on. It has to be like a purple, like for example, Tropicana cookies. People love that stuff for whatever reason, or some people do. But it's because it's purple and that weird orange smell and flavor it's got, and it makes purple hash and it takes really great photos. And so my point is just that you wouldn't have, like, that plant wouldn't have, if you were looking for a rec plant, you said, I want something with high THC because rec plants sell with high THC sell the best, you never would have grown out the seed that made Tropicana cookies. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, Tropicana cookies, I think we can all agree, is an extremely huge strain in the marketplace, relatively speaking. It's had its place, just like Tangy and everybody else, the flavor of the month or flavor of a year.
There's always something filling that citrus pocket.
Exactly.
It was Calio, then it was Agent Orange, Tangerine Haze, Tangy.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any smoke that smells worse in the air.
Right, Mimosa had its.
I fucking hate the smell of that terp in the air, bro. That shit is foul.
Right.
I don't know why. I mean, I don't like the taste of the flower either. I get why you smoke it in extract form. You know what I mean? Like it's a crazy terp profile. It's one of the strongest that there is, but nothing to me smells worse in the air than that shit, bro.
For sure.
There's certain stuff, like I said, you walk into a room, somebody's smoking that, you go, what is that? I need to hit that. Tangy, I walk into a room, I go, you might not even need to smoke any weed.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, so you see what I'm saying though, is like with the quantitative breeding, let's call it that, which means like looking for traits with data and then trying to find those plants for high THC or whatever else. It's just, you're going to overlook a lot of stuff that you probably could have turned into a great marketable product. And it's because for most consumers of cannabis, the experience is still the most important thing. You might be able to sell them one time on high THC or this or that, but you're not really going to make money in a competitive market until you can get them to come back and keep purchasing.